Welcome to the Quip Corner. Today we'll be having another edition of the Quip and Conversation segment, so Q&C. And I'm looking forward to listening to my guest's thoughts on a quip from my third book, the one for tweens, teens, and 20s. You'll see his bio right after this. And if you keep watching, you'll get to hear what he thinks about one of the quips. See you in a bit. Chris, thank you for joining me in the Quip Corner.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I really enjoy your quips and watching your videos, and so it's wonderful to be here.
Yes, indeed. I already have shared your bio, but a couple people will be like, yes, I read those words. I'd like to hear them from his mouth. So,
Well, sure. Well, my name is Chris, and I was a youth pastor for 10 years. And this year I've kind of shifted from working primarily with teenagers to starting a business with my friend Tiffany called True Fan Media, where we help support Christian content creators. And, you know, it's really our passion to just help people accomplish what God has called them to do to the fullest of their abilities. And so, I mean, that's really the passion. That's a passion of mine when working with teenagers. That's my passion now, is just help people unlock the fullness of what God's called for them.
excellent. Thank you. And thank you for adding to the content of this YouTube channel.
Well, it's a pleasure. It really is.
Yeah, so I had already shared with you a couple quips from my third book, you know, the one for tweens, teens, and 20s. And you chose Quip 25, which I'd like to read out. And then I'm really all ears on what you have to say about it. So Quip 25 says, good friends help you by hindering you from going down the wrong paths. And bad friends hinder you by helping you go down the wrong path. Take it away.
Yes, absolutely. I picked that one. Obviously, this is you know, all these quips are geared towards teenagers. And so that excites me right away because, you know, it's so vital that teenagers have good advice. And this one really jumped off the page because, one, I love the way it's worded, but two, the people we surround ourselves with are just the most important thing. Their influence is constant. And good friends, they help us, right? They, by making going down the wrong path difficult. Bad friends, they hinder us by making it easy to go down wrong paths. And, you know, you and I, this came about just talking about influence.
Yes.
And influence is a sneaky thing because it's constantly happening. We're all being influenced every moment, every second of every day. Everything we see, everything we hear, it influences us.
Yeah.
And working with teenagers, we've all seen and had those experiences where we've seen teenagers start spending time with bad friends.
Yeah.
And before long, there's changes happening in their lives. They're doing things they didn't used to do before. And the truth is, when we were teenagers, we did the same thing. We just didn't realize it because we naturally, I mean, look, making friends is hard at any age, but when you're a teenager, you're not thinking about the kind of person they are. You're just thinking about, do I find joy? Do I enjoy being around them? And we should enjoy being around our friends. But the bottom line is, yes, what we watch on television influences us. The music we listen to influences us, but our relationships, they influence us more than everything else.
Yeah.
They just do. And the subtlety in that is influence happens slowly.
Yes.
We don't realize it's happening. And so, you know, when we start spending time with people that maybe, they're fun to be around, but maybe they're, wasting all their time doing meaningless things. Maybe they're spending time doing things that we know aren't right, but we don't worry about it because they like us. Oh, they approve of us. They accept us. They welcome us. And so I'm not going to do the things they do. But given enough time, we'll start to talk like the people we spend around. We'll start to dress like the people we spend around. We'll start to enjoy the same things as the people we spend our time with, because that's how influences work. And we always will go down the path of those we spend time with. I'm reminded of Proverbs 13:20, which tells us that whoever walks with the wise is going to become wise, and whoever becomes the companion of fools is going to suffer harm.
Yeah.
You're going to make bad decisions as you spend time with foolish people. And so for teenagers, and not just teenagers, for all of us, if we want to be people who walk with wisdom, then we need to surround ourselves with people who walk with wisdom.
Yeah.
And that to me is like the dual edge of influence. Number one, we have to choose our friends wisely.
Yeah.
We have to be careful who is influencing us.
Yeah.
And the other side of that is we have to recognize we also have influence.
Yes.
And
we got the power.
Yes, absolutely. We have a responsibility to use our influence for good.
Mm-hmm.
So, as surely as we have to recognize the people we surround ourselves with are going to determine if we go down good paths or bad paths, I think we need to take responsibility and say, hey, what kind of paths am I going to lead the people in my life around?
Yeah.
Because while we tend to diminish our influence and think that we don't have very much influence, everyone influences someone, even you.
That's true. That is so true. So, you've said so much. There's so much to unpack there. And some parents will be watching and saying, okay, so how can I help my teen or someone in their 20s? Some uncles and aunts will be saying, how can I help my niece or my nephew? Some teenagers or teenagers or people in their 20s will say, ooh, yeah, Chris is right. Or the younger ones will say, Uncle Chris is right. So what do I do now? So what would, a few nuggets, some pieces of advice on how to change that course be?
Sure. Well, if you're a parent of a teenager, we have to recognize that our role as parents is to equip our students, equip our children we're preparing them for life. We're equipping them to make good decisions for life. So when they're younger, we make all the decisions for them. So if you're a parent of young kids, young teenagers, then you get to choose who they spend time with, and no, they're not going to like it. But our job is not to be liked. Our job is to prepare them for life. Now, as they get older, we allow them to make more decisions. And that is the scariest thing I think anyone will ever have to do, to relinquish the control and let young people begin to make their own decisions. But that's when we...
Yep, that includes me.
Yes. But that's where it's like, pray, we're turning it over. Lord, protect them. Lord, let them remember what I've taught them. Yes. And as we get older, we have to kind of take stock. And even as adults and as young adults, we have to we're never really free of that. I think even as full-grown humans, we recognize, there's some people in our lives, and maybe they're not leading us down bad paths necessarily, but they're speaking negativity into our lives. Mm-hmm. And they're pouring water on the passion that we have for what God's put inside of us. Yes. And those are influences. And sometimes we have to distance ourselves from people, and it can be painful, but that's why we need healthy boundaries to make louder the voices that encourage us and lead us down God's paths, and be quiet the negative voices and the voices that diminish us.
Thank you. That is so profound and so true. I like your comment about, parents relinquishing control. I was like, stop looking at me.
It really is painful, and it's so scary, because we love our children and we want to protect them with everything inside of us. We want to keep them safe forever. Yeah. And at some point, they will resent us. And that when we try to hold on to control, that's when a lot of teenagers really start to rebel against us, because God has put that desire to kind of make our own decisions and to live our lives. And it's very scary, but it's very important that we eventually, not right away. Sometimes if we give control too early, that's dangerous. But if we hold on too long, it's also dangerous.
Agreed. Yeah. So it's really striking that balance.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for joining me in the Quip and Convo segment of the Quip Corner, Chris.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I look forward just to continuing to learn from your content. You have such a way with words, and I really appreciate it and value it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your kind words. And there'll be an invitation sometime in the future again for you to come back.
It would be my pleasure.
Thanks, Chris. Take care.
Thank you.
It was great listening to Chris. I like how he articulated the importance of influence. At every point in time, you are being influenced or you're influencing someone. And he said it happens slowly, which is so true. I look forward to reading your comments and your questions, if any, on that quip or any of the contents. Until we catch up again in the Quip Corner, be a good influence. And watch out for the tweens, teens, and 20s around you, even if you're one yourself. Bye now.